Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm Sam Allman.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
And today we'll be playing the 8th part of Bernard's auto-RPG, Skies of Arcadia, covering up until the gang decides to fly into the Vortex. But before we get started, how is everyone's week?
My week was terrible because I realized my time with Skies of Arcadia is almost at an end.
Oh, yeah.
I want to adventure with this polycule forever.
Mm-hmm. What would you do if tomorrow they announced a triple B budget Skies of Arcadia sequel?
I believe people usually call that double A. But I would be thrilled.
I don't think I would be thrilled if they announced a triple A remake. I don't think all of the money thrown at this would make it any better. I think it kind of needs to have heart more than money.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of those situations where I would be more interested if I knew it was a smaller but more steadfast and more closely knit team than we put insane amounts of money behind this.
Absolutely.
I would love to see a remaster, which basically all it needs is that thing where you can speed up the game, but it doesn't speed up the music.
Mm-hmm.
That would make Skies of Arcadia about 10 times better.
Yeah. Playing it on Dolphin where it speeds up the music and the vocals and the gameplay has kind of been a nightmare, and I've kind of hated it.
Because game moves slow if you don't speed it up.
Maybe with some newer accessibility options added in.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, could I please turn down the encounter rate, please?
Yes.
But yeah, so Sega, because I know you're listening to this and you take everything that we say with 100% gumption, you should fire a couple of the people from the Skies of Arcadia team and make it just a handful. That's what we want. Thank you. But anything else important about your week, Bernard?
I've been starting at a new job, and I don't know what I'm doing, and it's scary. That's all.
What about you, Trish?
I'm trying to think. I recently went to I got a library card since I recently moved to Massachusetts. I got a local library card, excellent library, and I checked out some books. And I also checked out they have Switch games, so I checked out new Pokemon Snap.
Awesome. Okay, so my week has been a lot. I moved on Friday to this new house, and the new house is amazing and awesome, and I love it. But it's on the 3rd floor, but we have a private walk up if we want to walk upstairs, which is really cool. There's a elevator in the lobby, which is super cool. But the coolest is not a lot of people have moved into the building yet because it was built in June. So the parking garage is basically empty, including the topmost floor of the parking garage, which lets out into the 3rd floor of the building, 3 doors down from our house. So I just pulled the U-Haul into the parking garage, parked on the roof, and had to deal with 0% incline ever at all while carrying all our stuff, which was great. But did 2 days of moving furniture, which sucked a lot. And then today I did a day of getting the last little bits of things that didn't fit in boxes and weren't big enough to put on a truck, which was also a lot. So then I sat down to record to use this new fancy fully networked entire house fucking internet they supposedly are giving us, and none of the plugs in the house work at all. So I'm on really crappy Wi-Fi. So if I laugh at a joke 20 seconds late, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had to stop recording for 15 minutes for me to try and fix it, and I couldn't. So here we are.
It was longer than 15 minutes.
I've actually had the experience of being the first person to move into an apartment because it was freshly built like that, and it's actually pretty cool. It's pretty nice, though it also means that there's no way to blame anything on previous tenants.
No,
which does kind of suck.
Yeah, we accidentally took a gouge out of the wall, and we're within the first 7 days where we can report maintenance things that aren't our fault, and we're going to try and say, I don't know, I guess construction bumped it with their cart on the way out or something, because it definitely wasn't us. Previous tenants that definitely don't exist. So landlord, if you're listening to this, no, you're not. But the other really cool thing, which is related to Bernard's really sad thing, is we're about to be done with Skies of Arcadia, which means it's time to announce our next poll. But yeah, it's auto by RPG time for Trish. So we just got done with Bernard's, and now we're going to do Trish's, which I feel I should also say that this year, it being our 5th year, is kind of a big round anniversary year. So we're doing a bunch of like celebratory blocks. So we did Bernard's auto by RPGs. We're doing Trish's. We're going to do some games for me. We're going to this year we're going to do the often spoke about but never realized best of the rest tournament. Will be what we'll do at the end of this year, and it'll be a good old happy fun time. And we're kicking that off with Skies Arcadia, technically. And we're continuing it on to Trish's auto by RPGs. Trish, what are your auto by RPGs?
When you first asked me about this question, I actually struggled with it for a while. With one of the games, one of them was an immediate easy pick, which is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. It's a game that has an extremely near and dear place in my heart, and I've always wanted to be able to talk about it in a setting like this and just play through it and getting to talk about it bit by bit. So, I mean, easy choice. The other one was a bit more difficult, and I ended up settling, even if it's a much newer game, on Super Lesbian Animal RPG, which to
Awesome.
me is just such a lovely game. I think it would be extremely fun to cover that.
Awesome. So yeah, as probably the most requested game for us to play, I'm sure everyone listening knows Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. But in case you don't, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where I'll have a link to the poll where I always will break down what each game is and why it's important and all of the sorts of things. You can head over there, read about them, cast your vote, and we'll announce which one wins at the movie night episode in 2 weeks. So yeah, without further ado, and hopefully without any more technical difficulties, let's get started talking about the plot for this week. So Bernard, what happened?
Well, sailing east from Yafutoma, our heroes arrive at Crescent Isle, proving the world is round. Beletza had previously sailed to Yafutoma from the west, which would have proved the world was round, but that doesn't count because she's a villain.
Yeah, exactly.
We literally got this idea from someone else, and we are the ones that proved that the Earth was round.
It pops up with, when you get a discovery, it says, you discovered the blank. And in quotes, the blank is in quotes. This time it says, you discovered the, quote, world is round, unquote. And I really like it.
Discovering the world is round is a normal sentence, but putting the quotes there makes it stupid.
Yes. Crescent Isle is now a proper pirate base with buildings on the surface and a huge dock area inside the mountain. Brabham and Ismail greet our heroes. While Ismail was building up the base, Brabham prepared new armor plating for the Delphinus' hull, which he'll install shortly. Vice is like, cool, thanks. Also, check out this scroll I got. Brabham is very excited to learn about this blue moonstone technology. Our heroes convene in a fancy new meeting room overlooking the island, and I really love this meeting room. It's super cool.
It is.
And in the meeting room, Fina says that far to the south is the land of ice. Presumably, the purple moon crystal is there, trapped beneath the ice layer. Enrique says that according to Valuan archaeologists, there's a city underneath the land of ice, which has remained untouched since the old world, as nobody has been able to break through the ice. But with the new hole Brabham made, maybe they could try ramming their ship into the ice to break through. What's the worst that could happen? Our heroes sail for the land of ice. They successfully break through the ice without dying and find some ruins, which lead down to an incredible upside-down city suspended from the bottom of the ice layer. Fina says this is the city of Glacia, the capital of this region in the old world. She says that the people who lived here were powerful mages, and that because the city is under the ice, it wasn't destroyed by the rains of destruction. Aika asks what happened to the people living here in that case. Fina doesn't know, but hypothesizes that the people of Glacia left to invade another country and got caught in the rains of destruction. I'm like, the entire city left on this military campaign?
Yeah, the babies left too. They left with little slingshots and baseball bats to fight their parts in the war.
In camo onesies.
Yeah.
Anyway, our heroes make their way to the center of the city, fighting a random boss along the way. They open a huge door and see Drachma on the other side. He's alive!
I was honestly, I don't think I should have been, but I was genuinely surprised. It's been so long since that whole thing where it seemed like he died that I was like, shit, I guess he is just dead now.
Mm-hmm.
I've played Final Fantasy IV. I should know that when people die in JRPGs, they're going to come back at a climactic moment. And yet, I was like, holy shit, Drachma's alive!
Mm-hmm. There's a fantastic animation where Aika flying leap hugs Drachma.
Mm-hmm.
And after a bit of tearful reunioning, Fina asks Drachma what the heck he's doing here at the bottom of Glacia. Drachma leads our heroes into a massive chamber where Rochnum is just there, dying. It was fatally wounded by Ramirez's ships. When Rochnum fled the battle, the Little Jack was pulled along by the harpoon cannon lodged in its side. Otherwise, Drachma would have surely died and been destroyed by Ramirez's ships. But Rochnum returned here to its home, and Drachma has been there with it ever since. Enrique notices a purple light on Rochnum's head. It's the moon crystal. Rochnum is the purple Gigas. Fina says that according to the legends, the people of the purple civilization created their Gigas by implanting the purple moon crystal into a living creature.
Which is really fucked up.
It is.
This poor whale.
She hypothesizes that after it was transformed into a Gigas, Rochnum's master died and it was wandering the skies ever since. Aika asks Drachma why he stayed here with Rochnum instead of leaving on the Little Jack. Drachma says he spent his life seeking revenge against Rochnum, but he wasted those years. Rochnum saved him from Ramirez, and he thought the least he could do was watch over Rochnum in its final moments. Rochnum starts moaning, and Drachma realizes its time is up. Rochnum dies, and the purple moon crystal falls to the ground. Our heroes collect it. Later, on the deck of the Delphinus, Drachma opens Jack's box of feathers and lets them fly away in the wind. We cut to Drachma standing aboard the Little Jack, which has pulled up next to the Delphinus. Fina asks if he's really leaving. He says he's got to start over, and when you're as old as he is, it's not easy to change your ways. He says he's sorry, but he cannot go with them. Drachma also says Weiss has become quite a sailor, and that he's proud of him. Weiss says, no matter how far apart we become, we'll still be sailing the same sky. The same sky, the same clouds, the same wind. We'll always be together in one way or another. We'll never forget you. Everyone says goodbye to Drachma, and Aika says he had better come visit them on Crescent Isle. He says maybe he will someday, and sails off. Our heroes return to Crescent Isle, where Brabham has completed a new engine with blue moonstone technology. He says he'll get it installed immediately. Our heroes head back to the meeting room. Fina says the silver moon crystal is already safe with the Sylvites, so all that's left is the yellow moon crystal. Their journey is almost over. While they don't have a way to get through the Maw of Tartas, Enrique says that according to Valuan geologists, the underside of Valua has a series of cracks and fissures, which they might be able to fly through to access the underside of the Maw of Tartas. The next day, our heroes set sail for Valua. They fly underneath the continent until they find an entrance to the tunnel system, which is a second ship dungeon, and it's really cool and spooky. The Delphinus reaches a massive chamber where the yellow Gigas, which is some sort of freaky scorpion-looking thing, lays dormant with the yellow moon crystal in its head. I think it's in its head. It's somewhere on it.
Somewhere. The anatomy's a bit off.
Yeah. Fina says it was sealed here by the Sylvite mages, and it's incredibly powerful, so it's best if they don't wake it up. It wakes up! It breaks the seal above it and flies up into the air. Our heroes are like, oh shit, we're gonna have to fight this thing to get the yellow moon crystal. It's gonna be so hard! It's not that hard. Well, Sam, you're cheating, but then again, your cheating makes it weird. Did y'all find it hard?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
All the hard fights I did this week were not story related.
Yeah. After they defeat the Yellow Gigas, it crashes into the Valuan continent and leaves a massive crater. It's really cool. Our heroes land and retrieve the Yellow Moon Crystal, and they head back to Crescent Isle. When they arrive, they find Gilder waiting for them in the meeting room. He says he came here to hear about Vice's latest adventures. Our heroes tell him about how they collected the remaining moon crystals, which turns the conversation to Fina taking them home with her. Gilder asks where she's actually from, because, we've explored the whole world map at this point, so... Fina says the place she must return to is the Great Silver Shrine. During the Reigns of Destruction, the most powerful Sylvite mages combined their power to send it up above the sky to escape the calamity. That's right. Just like all the best JRPGs, we're going to outer space.
I was not expecting this at all, but I love it.
Enrique asks how Fina can return to the shrine if it's too high for their ships to reach. She says if she can recover the ship she came here in, she can fly it back home. But it sank beneath the clouds when Alfonso attacked her. Enrique says they'll have to find some way to get her home, but Aika asks if they'll never see her again if they succeed. Fina says lately she's been thinking about what it would be like if she couldn't find a way home and got to stay here with her friends. But that's silly. She has her orders. She has to return.
Mm-hmm.
The scene ends on a somber note as we cut to Galcian and Ramirez in the Grand Fortress. Galcian asks what the status of the Dangrel Island construction project is. Ramirez says it's going well. Everyone's favorite character, DeLoco's flagship, is being outfitted to be able to descend into the deep sky, and the elevator leading to the bottom of the deep sky has also been completed. Just to be clear, the deep sky is not just sky which is deep. It's lower than that.
Yeah.
It seems like it might be the actual surface of whatever planet this is.
Yes.
And they talk about it like no one ever comes back from there.
Yeah.
Which is really building it up as like a mysterious and cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's not just a digging minigame.
You'd be disappointed if it just turned into Dig Dug?
I'd be disappointed if it turned into a worse version of the Wind Waker grappling game. Hopefully that's not what we have in store. I definitely haven't played ahead.
Galcian starts talking about how the foolish Empress and the rest of the world will soon bow before his might. Not just the people, even the lands and the moons will be within his grasp. Ramirez is like, cool. Galcian says he's headed to Dangrel Island tomorrow and orders Ramirez to assemble the admirals there so he can see where they stand. He then says, I walk the path of death and destruction. I know you are a Sylvite. If you wish to change your mind, now is the time. Ramirez is just like, I'm all for your evil plans, Daddy.
It is. I will say this whole thing with him completely caught me off guard. I thought, I'm used to this game being as subtle as a brick to the face. So when it was like, oh, hey, remember that hyper competent, like badass sidekick that the Empress had, like this Grand Admiral who is just like cool and we've been warned is really dangerous. I was like, oh cool, he's gonna be a really good right hand man to her. And it's like, nah, actually he's the real big bad.
Mm-hmm. Back on Crescent Isle, Gilder tells Vice some news as he prepares to leave. He says that Valua has begun advancing into the lower altitudes, and has begun building a base on the low-altitude Dangrel Island. They're even working on something to allow them to explore the deep sky, the mythical bottom of the world. Weiss and Gilder hypothesize that they might also be after Fina's ship. So our hero's next destination is Dangrel Island. As the Delphinus approaches Danganronpa, we see Galcian convening with the admirals of the Valuan Armada. He announces that he is taking control of the Armada and will no longer take orders from the Empress. The admirals are shocked. He gives them the choice to follow him or leave. Alfonso is like, "What the fuck, Galcian?" Ramirez is like, "I'll fucking kill you." Alfonso is like, "Don't hurt me." Vigoro and DeLoco are perfectly happy to join Galcian. Gregorio asks what Galcian is really after. Galcian just says he wants, quote, more power, more control than Valua has ever had, unquote, and leaves it at that.
It's a really bad sign when a guy's like, this fascist empire, I could just use more oppression and more tyranny. It's just not giving me my fix.
Yeah. And I don't know, there's not much reason to be loyal to Teodora, but that's all the reason Galcian gives, and Vigoro and DeLoco are just like, yeah, sure. Whatever.
I mean, DeLoco at least very much seems like the dude who's like, listen, as long as I get paid to make weapons of mad destruction, then I don't care who's making me do it.
Mm-hmm. And Vigoro just wants to fire his cannon at things.
It's true. His phallic cannon.
Yes. Our heroes sneak into the Dangrel Island facility, make their way to the docks, and find the plans for DeLoco's upgraded flagship. They steal the plans in hopes they can use them to get to the deep sky themselves. Meanwhile, Galcian and DeLoco are on the bridge of DeLoco's flagship, which is docked right there. While they're talking about how they need to finish construction within the week, Galcian notices the air pirates from the window. Our heroes make their way back through the facility, but are stopped by Galcian. Enrique asks what Valua hopes to accomplish by building a place like this. Galcian's like, shut the fuck up. I don't even care about Valua. I'll fucking kill you. But then Gregorio enters from the other end of the dramatic hallway. He marches forward and places himself between our heroes and Galcian. Gregorio says he can't sit back and watch Galcian revive the ancient horrors and destroy the world. He says our heroes are the only ones who can stop the Armada now. He knocks them all through the door to the exit, shares a long goodbye during which Galcian could totally just kill him, and locks the door behind them. Gregorio, great face turn here. You could have come a bit earlier.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But he got there in the end. Our heroes make their escape while Gregorio holds off Galcian. They return to Crescent Isle and give the plans to Brabham, who says he'll need 10 days to modify the Delphinus to enter the deep sky. During those 10 days, Enrique spends more and more time alone, distraught by everything that happened on Dangrel Island. Once the modifications to the Delphinus are complete, our heroes make ready to leave. Their destination is a vortex near Shrine Island, through which they'll be able to more easily submerge. But then Enrique says he needs to talk to our heroes. He says that this will be his last voyage aboard the Delphinus. He must leave our heroes and return to Valua, so he can warn his mother about Galcian's coup. He acknowledges the dangers, and that his mother probably won't listen to him, but he feels he must do this as Prince of Valua. Moegi, who is also there, is like, no, don't do it. And he's like, but I must. He asks Weiss to drop him off at Sailor's Island after they retrieve Fina's ship so he can rent a ship and fly to Valua from there. Our heroes leave Crescent Isle, and once they leave, Enrique won't let you go back to Crescent Isle for now, so I hope you got all your preparations done. Next week, our heroes set sail for the Vortex, and the conclusion of their adventure.
Yay!
Yay!
The Vortex isn't actually the conclusion of their adventure, but next week, after the Vortex, they'll eventually get to the conclusion.
Yeah.
Yes. But for now, let's get to the conclusion of this episode and talk about our memorable moments.
There were a lot of good animations this week, as there often are.
There were. I really love in the meeting room the way everyone sits down. Like they all have very unique poses for it. Probably my favorite being Vice, who's just like full ADHD. I'm going to be sitting sideways in this chair with my leg over the side.
Yeah, and like Fina's sitting very proper, and Aika's leaning forward with her elbows on the table. It's good. Everything in this game is so characterful.
It is.
So, speaking of things that are super characterful, I love that Aika doesn't know shit about shit, but she has a wild imagination.
Yes.
So when we're like, we got to go to the ice place, she's like, oh, well, I heard it's so cold that if you don't wear a jacket, you'll freeze solid. And I don't have an ice pick, so I don't think we should go because I can't break you out of the ice.
And then Vice is just like, okay, first, like he starts listing every other time this has happened in the game. And he's just like, why is it your first thought is always that I'm going to die horribly? It's a very funny little scene.
It's so good. And so every time that Aika makes one of those things, it cuts away to a drawing, and the drawing is crude every time. So I was fully unprepared for the main side quest of the game with the optional bosses that keep kicking Trish's butt. Those CGs are freaking beautiful. Did you do any of that?
Are you talking about Piastel and Doc and Maria and all of them? Yeah, I did. I finished that whole quest line. I didn't write any notes about it because I didn't think it was particularly good.
It was okay.
No, the best part about it was the CGs.
The CGs and also Piastel's just design, which is 10 out of 10, no notes. Except maybe give me more gorgeous girls with scythes.
Yes.
I haven't done the fourth fight with her yet, but I'm going to. Yeah, like her storyline's not that interesting, but like it's fun. They're decent fights. I did mistakenly just go from second fight to third fight too early, and that fight was excruciating just because of how much health she had. I can't wait to do the fourth fight. But yeah, I didn't do all the optional boss fights at this point, but I did do. So if you have your swashbuckler rating, which you mentioned, I think like second episode or something, a little silly thing about like your dialogue choices. If your swashbuckler rating is high enough at this point in the game, it suddenly dips to like Vice the Fallen Pirate or something like that.
Yeah,
because there is someone out there who is pretending to be you and robbing people, and you can go fight him. And it's so good. I loved it. Because, like, the dude himself, he's just Vice, but with a red coat instead of a blue coat and freckles. He's really doofy looking, but in kind of an adorable way. And he also has his own evil Aika and evil Fina.
That's amazing.
I think they're called Anika and Fena.
Yes, and Anika is just, like, super fucking down for anybody. She's just flirting with everyone the entire time. And then evil Fina is just like a cold bitch who's just like, well, I told you this was a bad idea, but now that they've seen us, we have to kill them.
Evil Vice, who is named Vise, has when you fight him, he has a special attack called Cutlass Wrath. And when he attacks, he goes, Cutlass Wrath! And it's just, his voice acting is so good. It's so good.
I was playing with sound off and I didn't hear that. I'm very sad now. They all have the special moves equivalent to your characters, but with the names changed a little bit, and it's very fun. I do think it's very funny because the plot-wise, what's happening is like, there are a bunch of entertainers who realize that by pretending to be Vice and his crew, they could use our reputation to steal from people just like by the threat that we might attack them. And then you fight them, and it's like, oh shit, they're extremely badass. And I'm like, dudes, why are you doing this plan if you're actually really badass? Like, I would say I didn't get into an RPG death spiral, but it was a really hard battle.
Yeah,
especially because fucking Vice is over here doing Cutlass Fury for like a third of your HP or more every turn.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
Sorry, you
oh,
were going to say something about our evil doppelgangers.
sorry. I just noticed that the web recording wasn't set to my correct microphone. That's
Oh,
fine. It'll be
okay,
fine.
it'll be fine. I also do think it's funny that we get an evil posse to match our crew, but there's no evil Enrique. It
Because
really
he's not a
does.
part of the polycule.
Exactly, he's not a member of the polycule. Like, the game understands. Speaking of optional boss fights, though, have either of you fought any of the giant monsters?
I stumbled upon one of them. The giant insect one.
The giant spider.
Yes. There might be one that's more spider-like than the one
Oh
I
wait,
fought. Let me look them up.
okay, I can't remember what the first one you can do is, but there's one thing, this giant
Yeah, the
spider.
giant spider. Yeah,
Yeah, it was the,
definitely. That has like a web on it.
yeah. Oh, that's it. There's giant squid, giant spider, a rock, like ROC, like giant bird, and then a giant looper,
Mm-hmm.
which is both my favorite and kind of the creepiest of them. Like, it's because like we've had these weird looper enemies this whole game, and so it's just like, here's one that's enormous. And I think it's fun. Apparently, so they're all ship battles because they're giant creatures. And they're just totally optional, but they can give you some really cool equipment and stuff if you beat them. But the giant looper has a mechanic where to replicate the looper, if if you're too aggressive too early, it will just bounce and you'll have to go find it again because loopers are constantly running away.
Mm-hmm.
What is funny though is I did set up I was looking like, okay, if I build up my SP and stuff, I can get to a turn where I can do a moon cannon thing. And I just set up that moon cannon turn to where I hit it with the I can't remember what they're called. The small cannons that can fire for 2 turns in a row. Like
Secondary cannons?
secondary cannons. I hit it with secondary cannon, torpedo, and moon cannon on the same turn, and it just one shot it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun, I think these are very fun. I think it's really cool to just be like, oh yeah, here are these giant monsters out in the world. You can go fight if you want to. Similarly, with the mechanic they added this particular segment of being able to go extra up or extra down. One of my favorite things about that is if you're either above the clouds or below the clouds, there's no random battles, which is
Mm-hmm.
really great.
Yeah, it's a nice bonus to be able to traverse wide spaces without random battles at this point in the game.
Yeah, it's how they can give you a JRPG airship in a game about JRPG airships. So you get the mechanics of one, what even though you've already had the plot of one the whole game.
I couldn't hear most of what you said because of technical
Same.
difficulties, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
You're back now.
Also, just I don't know. There's another side questy thing. I don't know either of you did that. So you can go back to the port from last time where everyone has given up and doesn't believe in dreams anymore. And sure enough, there are several people there who can join your crew because you're cool now. But there's also the owner of the tavern there. It turns out her mom is from that place, the city we first went to get the red moon crystal before we went to the
Maramba.
temple. Maramba. She's from Maramba. And you could go this whole quest line about trying to reconcile them because they've had a lot of problems between them since then because she ran away to go to this other city and stuff and build up her own life and hasn't talked to her mom in like 20 years. And you can do stuff to try to fix it. It is one of those side quests in JRPG that is just I'm going to go back and forth between these locations, fighting so many random battles the entire time. And then it's going to be like, hey, get these ingredients from all over the world to continue this. It's so much. But if you do it, you do get something pretty good out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of sweet. Even if part of me is like, lady, your mom's being a bitch. You don't have to reconcile with her. You know that, right?
You have to recreate her mom's special recipe. And in order to do this, you have to discover an island that has thought extinct spices on it. And I'm like, where is her mother getting these spices?
Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot. But hey, you get a thing that makes it so you can upgrade Fina's cute little weapon buddy one form immediately, no matter how many it's eaten.
Yes, and I've been sort of loosely following a guide to not 100% the game, but like 90% it.
Same here.
So
Mhm.
next week I'm going to have all 30 chams and all 3 special chams, which you use to which is you get one of them from this side quest. So I'll be able to get final Cupel, which I'm excited
Final
about.
Cupel. I'm just hearing one winged angel in the background now.
Yeah, as a report from Cheaterland, something about Cupel is like progression locked besides just getting all the chams, because of course I cheated in all the chams because I cheated in everybody's ultimate weapon, so I wanted Phoenix too. But I gave him like infinity chams and nothing really happened, and he didn't have a new form or anything, so I should probably try it again.
Did you also give him all 3 special chams, because you need all 30 regular chams and all 3 special chams?
Maybe not. Maybe that's the secret, is you can give him infinity chams, but those last 3 steps it won't get you to. Like maybe it'll get you to level 27 out of 30, and then for that level 27 has an infinity cap, but if you have done those, it gives you level +1 +1 +1 to get all the way to the max. I'll check it out. I'll report back and let you know if Fina's any good. She's only basically unstoppable instead of being utterly unstoppable.
The whole Cupel system is more complex than you might think. There's
Oh god.
Yeah, depending on what order you give chams and special chams, lots of different things can happen.
Oh, that's really neat.
This is, of course, not tutorialized.
Yeah, it's not even basically talked about.
Yeah.
When you find your first cham, it's just like feed him to Cupel so Cupel can get stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole system as talked about in game.
Yeah, apparently Final Cupel is like by far the strongest weapon in the game or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I'm
that
excited.
Speaking about Cupel, did remind me of my other memorable moment. In one of the hangouts in the meeting room, they talk about how Fina's kind of a pirate now, and she's one of them, and everything is awesome and great. And as they're talking about how they're going to be friends and pirates forever, they're like, Fina, we should totally get Cupel and Eye Patch. And I love it. It's so
It was very cute. I loved it. Listen, once we finish this game, am I going to go and like dig for some good like thruple fanfic of these 3? Yes, of course I am. I know what I'm about.
Yeah, this game is good.
It is. It is just so nice to play a JRPG where the characters are this like lively and like they're not deep necessarily, but they're rich, if that makes any sense.
I just realized something. This game was designed 100% in response to Final Fantasy.
I didn't hear the number you said after saying Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we established like in episode 1 it was made in response to Final Fantasy 7 and 8. But we don't know what Sam is saying about that.
Yeah, we don't, because technical difficulties. I will say, as someone who has played but still not finished Final Fantasy IX, which God, I really need to restart that game one of these days and actually get through it. I can't help comparing them a little bit in my head and just going like, do I love the cast of Final Fantasy IX? Yeah, I do. Do I feel like they have as much character and like emotion as the characters of Skies of Arcadia? No.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even like a close call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Skies of Arcadia is real good.
It is indeed. And next time we're going to be talking about the last part of it.
No. I like legitimately was like, I don't want this game to end. I'm having so much fun. Okay, folks. So there was probably a weird cut there because Sam died.
He's no longer with us.
His internet isn't working. We've had so many technical difficulties this whole recording. So Sam cannot. Or wait,
Am I back?
yes, you're back.
Wait, you're
Okay,
just
I'm gonna
hi.
I'm gonna go fast. I don't know where you were in this, Bernard. Good luck, future Bernard, for cutting this together. If you like what you heard, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate to help us pay for hosting costs, game costs, and things like that. When you do so, you can join one of 3 tiers. We have the Gadabout tier, which is everyone who pays $1 or more a month. This gets you access to our Tales of Podcastia episodes a month before everyone else, and lets you vote on our polls, like the one we announced earlier this episode. We have the Warrior tier for everyone who pays $5 or more a month, in which will also get their name shouted out at the end of every episode, just like this. Shout outs to Frost Terror, Dragon Slayer 19, Kaldron, Freddie Rodriguez, Aaron524, JFro Prime, and Doho. And then finally, we have the Luminary tier, which is everyone who loves us so much that they pay us $20 or more a month. And they also get a 1 cent shout out to make me say whatever they want. So shout outs to El Tantavi, who wants you to check out critical-distance.com, an aggregator for games criticism and journalism. Shout out to William Taylor, who wants you to check out rpgamer.com, a game review website by people like us for people like us. Shoutouts to Vimk, who says, play The Legend of Legaia. It's that PS1 RPG that everyone confuses with Legend of Dragoon. And also shoutouts to Carr, who is a dentist. And so he's not shouting out his Twitch stream, but rather your own mouth. And he says to brush your teeth twice a day. Most importantly, the time right before you go to bed. For RPG Book Club, I've been Sam Allman.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
Toodle fucking Lou, folks.
Bye, guys.